So let's start with where things finished because look, we had a lot of people saying when the split tribal council happened, Cedric has no relationships at this point. He
Mhm.
has no allies. He's an easy vote. And I don't know if you were privy to all this stuff that Kyle and Camilla were trying to pull with framing Shaheen, but regardless, I did notice you didn't play your shot in the dark. So what was your confidence level going into tribal council about you being able to survive yet another one?
So, great question. Um, I suspected that it would be me. I wanted to believe that it would not be me. Um, I said before, I'm a glass half full person, and that's where I was trying to frame it. But when I looked around the room, uh, when I walk into a patient's room, I immediately have to look at are they on oxygen, do they have a Foley catheter? I'm looking at all these things. I'm assessing all of that. And I understood in that moment the real dynamics here. I'm also clouded by 2 weeks in not having any real nutrition, 2 weeks in the game of playing really hard pre-merge, at most of the tribal councils and really having to make tough decisions, emotionally being spent. I did not play my shot in the dark. And I think part of it was, maybe I was hopeful, but also I think just, I was hitting that figurative wall, literally.
Mm.
I suspected that the votes would go my way, but I wanted to believe that they wouldn't.
So, I mean, this was, one of only a few votes that don't go your way because,
Yeah,
I'm excited to get into this, Cedric. You were able to exercise a lot of control for what is worth, as maybe as chaotic to us as it may have been. What do
chaos
you
is in the eye of the beholder.
exactly? There we go. And what do you credit that to? Do you credit to relationships, demeanor, to your point about that glass half full? Because it did seem that all the times you went to tribal council, with maybe a
Yeah,
couple of exceptions in the post merge, you were someone that not only knew what was happening, but kind of had that firsthand decision making.
yeah. I mean, you're looking at somebody that when the game started, when we get out there, I was deeply concerned. I was the first vote. In fact, one of the things that you didn't see as soon as we got on our camp in Vula, Say comes to me and says they're talking about your name, which started a part of my relationship with her. So I already had that concern. So the fact that I was able to remain as long as I did, I mean, I'm just overwhelmed by that because I really felt like I was leaving on day one or day three. Um, I suspect that my strength, which is what I knew it would be the ability to have conversations with people about things that matter, whether it be about their families, whether it be about their lives or jobs or whatever it may be. That's why people were comfortable coming to me, telling me information that perhaps nobody else knew. And that got me further in the game. And that gave me the ammunition to have the power to pull triggers when they needed to be pulled.
Well, we need to talk about a wild shot that you
Yes.
took in episode 3 because, look, I'm sure your head was spinning. I know this went on for a lot of hours, through a lot of votes. Yeah, you keep voting say in episode 3, and
Mm-hmm.
then you're basically faced with a choice. Choose between your two tightest allies,
Yeah.
or you go in this wild one-man rock draw. So, talk us through your headspace and what made you ultimately decide. Because I know that Justin had referred to like there were some powerful conversations that didn't happen, that didn't make the edit. Can you elaborate on that a little bit, your decision making?
Yeah. So I was walking into that tribal, not going to write Justin's name down. We talked about, I'm not writing your name down. He wasn't going to write my name down. And at all costs, I was not going to write his name down. But there was a thing that happened as Say was speaking. And I said in this moment during tribal, I said, Jeff, this is transcending game. I saw a person in front of me that was in pain. I saw someone that I was concerned about her mental state at that point, and I saw someone that was breaking. And I know that we all are potentially going to leave this game. But in this moment, I was concerned that if she were to have left in that moment, it would not have been good for her as a person, as a fellow human being. This was a moment that, in some ways, not exactly, but in some ways, was analogous to Joe and Eva. Joe saw Eva breaking, hurting, he connected. I saw Say having a mental moment. And I've talked to her about this already, so I'm not saying anything off the cuff that she hasn't heard from me. And so I was concerned that if there were any element of break or trauma or anything in her life, I didn't want this to further compound it. And I could not let her leave the game like that. They didn't show, it wasn't that she cried and I changed my vote. It was the fact that I saw another human being having a moment that I was concerned she may not be able to walk back from if she leaves the game like this.
Wow, that is so interesting because now I think it fills in a lot of reasoning as to why you proceed forward with Say in multiple ways, especially when you swap over. And what's so intriguing is you have Chrissy vocalizing to us in confessional, like
Mm-hmm.
he's got to ditch Say at this point. She's dragging him down, but it sounds like you had this tangible, to your point, almost out of the game connection that would probably make you feel in that moment, much like Joe does espouse to Eva in the premiere, like, I've got her. I'm not letting her go. Of course, not necessarily knowing that she was maybe trying to gun for you in the process.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, the viewer gets the omniscient sort of perspective of the producer, right? They get all things. And what the viewer gets, they show the bumpy sides of that relationship, which were there. But there was also a bond that was there that was maybe chaotic, maybe messy at times, but it was still a bond. That's the reason why we made it as far as we made it in the game, because there was a bond that said, listen, stay strong. She's strategic, she's analytical, she's the kind of player, we heard it several times last night, she's the kind of player you want to play this game. I was never threatened by Say. I was never intimidated by Say. And also, I was not annoyed by Say the way other people were. It just didn't bother me the way it rubbed people the wrong way. And I think it bothered folks I was keeping in the game because we tend to look at this game through our own lens, right? That's how we look at this game. And through my lens, she didn't bother me at all. She wasn't annoying. I mean, whatever, she's playing a game. But she also was the one person that when I walk away that would give me vital information. And I think one thing, and I'll say before we go to the next question, is in many ways, I feel somewhat vindicated by what we see from the edits because the people that were telling me before we merged, oh, my guys at Loggy, my guys at SIVA, they want to work with you. You got to ditch Say. They really want to work with you. We see they don't want to work with you. And in no means were there any interest in working with you. And so I knew going into the merge, it's like I have to have at least one person that's giving me information that I'm not this lone person out here. I have that in Say right now.
Well, and I would imagine then that was one reason why you end up pulling off, your second big flip. The first 2 to 1 vote in American Survivor history
Mm-hmm.
is in your hands when you get this information from Bianca at the last second that she does not have a vote, and she says, "Put it all on Say." So talk to me about everything that was going through your head in those final hours that caused you to say, "Okay, I can grab Chrissy right now. Let's flip things onto Bianca."
I was grabbing whoever I could make eye contact with because Bianca's right. She's watching like a hawk. And so I had moments of just subtlety before we go over. They gave me a little bit extra time to actually try to figure something out. But literally, I would, whoever, would Mitch, Say, Chrissy just happened to connect with me. In those moments, that was very different than the Justin. I'm not monolithic in my thinking. It's not just that you tell me or you lose a vote and I'm going to vote you out. It's not that simple. That's very surface level thinking. The reality in that moment was that Justin and I had already built a relationship. We were already established. We'd had that trust. And in that moment that I didn't realize he does have a vote, that breaks some of that loyalty. Bianca, we were building that. And she says it. She says, I like this to be something we can build together. We can build that trust with you. That felt very, in last moments, more manipulative than Justin's vote. And so as I struggled to realize what to do with it, I realized that why am I struggling to get rid of the one person that I know that has my back, even despite what you may see on screen? It felt very different than the Justin vote. It wasn't the same scenario. And so even though I was already leery of voting Say out, that further convinced me that maybe someone's manipulating me in this moment and putting me in this last minute scenario because of that, like to throw him off. Like, I'm a grown, don't, I'm good. Just come to me. I'm a reasonable person.
So, on that Siva tribe, we saw you make a lot of inroads with people like Mitch in this beautiful
Yeah,
scene where they're connecting with Chrissy. Bianca tells me that one of the reasons why she confided in you is because you had such good conversations.
yeah.
So I'm curious, let's say at the split vote, you are able to move forward, Shaheen or someone else ends up going. Were there people that you were eyeing to work with moving forward from this merge group, considering these connections you had been
Yes,
making?
yes. I mean, obviously, Chrissy, Mitch, Star, Joe, Kyle. I mean, I'm going to name everybody's
I
name
was gonna say.
because there definitely is a potential, right? This game, you live another day, you rewrite the script. And so I saw that possibility in so many different angles. Kyle and I and Joe had an amazing conversation about representation, about being on that island together and what that meant. And so there was a lot of potential there. I just needed that split vote not to have happened.
Yeah, the star mention is one I really want to focus in on
Yeah,
because I mean, you talk about hitting these lows. I imagine that when you have that breakdown after, the big Murgatory challenge, it just felt like the culmination of so much hitting
yeah.
you. And here's Star that from our record, you had not talked with in the game prior, had the opportunity, like coming down and supporting you. Was that more of an insight into like a dynamic we didn't see?
We had a brief comment. We both sat out of the challenge where Eva and Joe and pulling on the boats, we both sat out. So I think we had a few words there. Um, but in that moment, I think Star, what really got me and got me crying more than anything is that she saw me. I had this whole game where, for whatever reason, I'm being viewed as petty or chaotic and I think in that moment it was one of the first times someone actually saw me for what I was about. I mean, I came out to this game not because of any ego, but a really big reason. I have kids. My kids haven't seen me struggle in life. And one of the reasons why I wanted to do this game was I wanted them to know in life you will have struggles, you will have challenges. How do you handle it? How do you come out from that struggle? And so she saw exactly what I was feeling there, and it was that's what got to me was that one of the first times someone actually saw me, really saw me.
I mean, to finish things up, I want to talk about a bit about your perception on and off the island because there are some confessionals from, Justin being like, I love Ced, but strategy isn't his strong
Yeah,
suit. Say compares you to the dog that you're trying to
yeah,
drag down the street. And I mean, listen, even through the pre-merge, there certainly has been some fan reaction. There's been some fun stuff for you of like having those worst reactions read out about feeling like, oh my God, what is Cedric doing? He's not a
yeah,
good player, et
yeah.
cetera, et cetera. So talk to me about how you react to that because again, it was such an emotional experience for you and you say
Sure.
that everyone sort of has a certain perspective on the story. How do you look back on the game you played and how you were perceived by the players and the fans?
Well, I'm very aware of who I am, and I walk into this game. This is for any future player. Know who you are before you walk into this game, because if not, people will write your own script of who you are, and so that doesn't bother me. I've been through um, so much in life and growing and developing. I mean, we talked to Mitch about his stutter and kind of what it meant to be one of a few Black men in my medical school class, 217. I mean, that stuff doesn't bother me. If anything, I love the passion of the fans. I love that they're so engaged, that they go through all lengths to sort of create the scenarios that fit there. That's not me. And so I don't do a whole lot to defend that. I don't have to. The life I lead, that's enough. And I enjoy the fodder, but I also know what's true and not true, and what's not true.
Yeah, and that's why I'm so grateful for, not only every time I get the chance to chat with you, but opportunities like this where, again, you get to reveal a bit more of your thinking and some of these decisions where we're like, I mean, you voted at one point for every single person of your tribe in
Yeah,
the first three episodes. And so
yeah,
being able to shed a light into, to your point, what might seem as, I mean, quite literally method to the madness, at least from our perspective, is very much appreciated. I think I speak on behalf of all fans and
yeah.
in general, just getting the chance to talk with you about this stuff. It's always so appreciated, man.
And again, I want the fans to know, I mean, that they're the reason why the shows had the longevity, and so that passion to pick your favorites. I do want people to realize that what you're seeing is an edited show. This is not a documentary of what Cedric said and thought last summer in Fiji. It's not that. This is like Friends or Seinfeld or Living Single, where we're it's a collective ensemble piece, and we got to create a story. And that's a show that we love and enjoy so much. I'm just honored to be a part of.
And we're so honored to not only have had you on our screens, but also
Yes,
gain the chance to talk with you today. I mean, obviously, again, it was far from the game that you had envisioned, considering how much chaos was swirling around you. But again, speaking to the control that you had through this split tribal council does go to show. I think some of the skill that you provided that was maybe masked by all of the mayhem. So again, thank you so much, Cedric, for taking the time to talk with me. I always relish our conversations, and this one is no different.
thank you so much for your time. It's been a
Yeah,
pleasure.
of course. All the best to you and the family as well. And thanks as always, Cedric. You have a good one.
Thanks, buddy. Bye.
Bye.